If you intentionally have sexual intercourse with your wife, with your spouse, or not even with your spouse, you have sexual intercourse in the day, in the month of Ramadan, what happens to your fasting? Your fast is broken. You have broken your fast. There's no doubt about that. But you have committed a sin, a violation that is worse than the person who breaks his fast by eating or drinking. Your case is worse. If you have sexual intercourse in the day of Ramadan, you have invoked a curse of Allah on yourself. You have invoked the curse of Allah on yourself if you break your fast through sexual intercourse during the day of Ramadan. Before Allah forgives you for having sexual intercourse in the day in the month of Ramadan, you have to do one of three things. You set a slave free. A Muslim slave. You set him or her free. And there are no slaves today. So which means you are left with only two options. The other options is you have to fast for 2 consecutive months after Ramadan. You must fast for 60 days after Ramadan. And you must not break the fast. Except if it's a woman who is in her menses. After her menses, it continues until it is 60 days. If you break fast in the month of Ramadan with sexual intercourse, you have to fast for 60 days consecutively before Allah will forgive you. If you cannot fast, you feed 60 poor persons. You feed 60 poor people. You have to do one of these. That day in which you now add intercourse, you are now going to fast it back. You now beg Allah for forgiveness. You beg Allah for forgiveness. Therefore, distance yourself from anything that may tempt you to commit sexual relationship in the day of Ramadan. Distance yourself from temptation of women. Distance yourself from watching movies or anything that can arouse you sexually. And be careful with your spouses. Don't play so much so that it will lead to having sexual intercourse. It's a very bad thing in the month of Ramadan. You have to do kafara if you violate the sanctity of Ramadan through intercourse.